Are you ever confused on who should be involved in the interview process? Today I want to tell you a little bit about what I've observed over my 20 years in recruiting and the best way to handle bringing somebody in and who they should talk to. My name is Tony Bishop. I'm the owner of Connections Search Group. We've been in business for over 20 years. We place 150 people each year, and I have the privilege of actually observing what works and what doesn't. And I know a lot of people scramble when it's time to bring somebody in for an in-house interview, and it seems like sometimes you just grab a bunch of people that you think that should be involved, or you think should be involved, and you put them on the interview schedule and you ask them to interview. Now, a lot of you guys that are watching, our clients are usually small companies, and I know you don't have a whole lot of time to put this stuff together. You're working 10 hours, 12 hours a day trying to do your job, and at the same time you got to hire people. And most companies right now are growing like crazy, so hiring is very important. But let me tell you what I would recommend, and this is just on observations on what works and what doesn't work. This is what you really ought to think about. So if you're the hiring manager and this person's your direct report, obviously you've got to be involved in the interview. And then most likely you're going to have a boss, or your boss's boss, maybe 2 levels above you, will also want to interview. So that could be 3 people there. Now, a lot of times what I see is that then all of a sudden we start bringing in the peers of this person, people they're going to work with, and also we start bringing in their direct reports, which may be 4 or 5 people. Maybe you pick the top 2 or 3. And then all of a sudden you really have a mess, because you have a lot of people who are interviewing, but to be quite honest with you, the input from all those people are not as critical as some of the key decision makers, such as the hiring manager, your boss, and that person's boss. So think about when you bring somebody in, who's critical to the process? Who do you really have to have feedback from in order to make the hire? And limit the interviews to those people. That is my recommendation. Now, if you want to have them interview peers, so people they'll be working with, maybe they're working across departments, and you want to make sure that there's buy-in from those other, their peers in other departments, then maybe that's not an interview. Maybe that's just a quick introduction and you're not really seeking feedback from that person. Or better yet, the better way would be to do it is to actually establish decision criteria. In other words, if you're going to have people interview, then you need to have a scorecard that describes what is important to you. And for this particular position, what are you trying to hire? What are the responsibilities you need? What are the key attributes that you need for this person to possess? So then what you do is you create a scorecard, and on that scorecard, let's say there's 5, maybe 7 things that you're looking for in this person. So you list the 5, 7 things, and then you have a grading scale 1 to 5, where 1, there's very little evidence that this person has it. 5 is very strong. This person does possess that skill or trait or whatever you're looking for. And then underneath that, have a little place for written text, so the person who's interviewing them can actually write their reasoning why they scored this person in a particular manner. If you use decision criteria like this, then what happens is you're getting everybody to give you feedback on the things that are important to you, the hiring manager, and your boss. If you don't use a scorecard like this, then what happens is when you bring everybody together and you start asking for their input as to how well the candidate did, they're all using their own decision criteria. They're not using there's not a standard decision criteria, and so they're giving you their input based on what they think is important. And it's impossible to get a consensus that way, especially after the fact. If you want a consensus from everybody, then get everybody together. Everybody who's interviewing should come together, and you should decide on the decision criteria, what's important. Put that together, create a scorecard. Everybody that interviews uses a scorecard. They submit them back to one central person, the hiring manager, and then that's how you get your input, is off the scorecard. That is the best way. Now, I will also say a lot of times I see candidates go in and they're talking to their direct reports as part of the interview process. And I got to tell you, that is pretty futile piece of the process, because the direct reports most of the time are going to want that job. And so you're promoting somebody, you're bringing somebody in over them, and it's hard to get real objective feedback from those people. So I personally would say that's something I would leave out. If you want buy-in, there's a different way to get buy-in, and it's not part of the interview process. So anyway, I hope this helps. I just thought it was critical to bring up, because I see this happening more and more. People are scrambling, they want to bring somebody in, they want to make a decision, and then they just kind of pull together a bunch of people to interview people who have availability in their schedule to interview, and the input is from those people is not it's not valid, number one. And then the other thing is, a lot of times on the candidate side, they are sometimes less impressed with the company because the interview process was just kind of haphazard. So anyway, if I can help you, let me know. We do have scorecards. We have created these scorecards for some of our clients. Be glad to put one together for you or send you some samples. I'll have my my number so you can actually text me or email me at the bottom of this video.